Welcome to the Porsche Club Insider, your one stop for all things Porsche and PCA. Here's your host, Vu Nguyen, and the Insider crew.
Welcome everyone to episode 184. We have a special episode for you. I'm so excited, but before I introduce our guest, I want to recognize Manny Albin to my right and Damon Lowney at the controls to my left. Of course, we want to thank our presenting sponsor, Pirelli. Pirelli tires have to achieve the highest levels of performance, safety, noiselessness, and grip on the road surface. Innovative tires that can satisfy even the most specific mobility needs of the end consumer. And thank you to all of you that are listening. If you aren't currently a PCA member and own a Porsche, what are you waiting for? Grab that VIN, head over to PCA.org and make yourself a PCA member. For those of you that are looking for a Porsche for your driveway or garage, we have the test drive program. Again, PCA.org. Folks, if you're into motorsports, if you know anything about a 718 Spider, 917, 935, 962, 963, 550 Spiders, and if you've just been around the track, there is, as Manny said it before, there's 6 degrees of separation from the godfather of Porsche Motorsports, Alwin Springer. Sir, welcome to PCA Insider.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very, very pleased.
It's the second time, actually.
No. Yeah, it's the second time for a podcast.
Parade, yeah.
But it is the first time here because last year, remember, on the last evening, I got a little bit the flu and couldn't make it up but this year I'm here. I enjoyed, and so far we have a wonderful time, and it's going to continue for the next week.
Absolutely.
When we go on a ship.
That's right, for the 70th anniversary Treffin at Sea cruise, so we're looking forward to that. But we've already had a wonderful day so far, spending time with you and Yolanda. Let's get started with a little bit. We're gonna switch it up because I think you've been in front of a lot of motorsports fans and shared many of stories in the past, and we've heard some of them and some we'll share. But I think we'll briefly talk about your start and your time as Porsche Motorsports CEO, but Manny and you had a great idea to talk about some of the folks that you've worked with in the past and delve into things or details that the general public might not have heard yet.
Exactly. To me, this whole afternoon has been a dream because having read his book, which if you haven't, I highly recommend. I think it's sold out, so you probably have to buy it secondhand.
You might have to get it on eBay.
Yeah, unfortunately, because, like we had 1963 copies. No, 963 copies. Sorry about that. And they sold out within 7 months. So it was very good.
But you can go to the secondary market and find it. But
you can.
It is filled with so many stories of Porsche history, starting in 66, I think.
Right.
Working on 718, the RS Spiders, all the way through being consultant with the 963. So you can imagine the stories and how much involvement Alwin has had with Porsche Motorsports here in the U.S. that it was fun for me to hear him retell some of the stories that I read in the book with some things that weren't in the book was even better.
It's quite incredible to think a Canadian technician in 1965 eventually becomes CEO of Porsche Motorsports.
Now, Canadian, I would say not really.
I was going to say, when you said that, I'm like, what?
You were in Canada, a German Canadian.
German working in Canada. That's correct, my friend.
Yeah, just because you lived in Boston for a couple of years does not make you a Bostonian.
Exactly. So let's talk about Andial and the 3 founders. Prior to becoming known as Andial, you were working at a very famous dealership.
Yeah, it's Vasek Polak in Manhattan Beach, and in the 60s, Vasek Polak's, I would say, was the leading guy in California when it came to Porsches. And he had not only good dealerships, but he had a racing team. And he raced Porsches. And I tell you, he was at that time the leading guy because he had a 911, he had a 904, and a 906. And that was pretty remarkable. And Dieter and Arnold was working there. Dieter was at the head mechanic and did the racing, the local racing and the club racing. And Arnold did the parts department. We was the parts manager. And when I came there in '69, I took over the racing department on the professional side with the 906, 904, and later on in 1971 with the 917.
And you all came from Germany to Canada, and you met in Canada, didn't you?
No. We all three came from Germany to Toronto, and Dieter and Anna went on to Vancouver, and from Vancouver to Vasek Polak in Manhattan Beach, and I came from Germany to Toronto, and then from there to Manhattan Beach.
So you all meet at Vasek Polak.
That's correct.
So while you all three were in Canada, you did not know each other. It wasn't until you landed at the dealership.
I didn't know the two. The two of them, of course, they were together. But
okay. Gotcha.
I did not meet them, no.
Gotcha. And can you share with us briefly, what do you think was the success of that dealership, and why, how did, back in the day, did they have allocations of these, race cars, and other dealerships, were they not into it, or how did that all work back in the day?
No, I would say that Mr. Polak had the vision and he had the passion and experience, and his heart was into racing. And I did not see any, maybe Otto Zipper at that time was here, but otherwise I did not see anybody else in racing but like him.
And how did you end up there? There wasn't Indeed.com. How did you find that there was a position available?
And that's a good story. I was okay, let me go back a little bit. I went to Canada. I just want to spend some time between my end of journeyship as mechanic and auto electrician. And I wanted to go in a time between the end of it and the beginning of my master degree. So I had 3 years time, and I just want to see the United States. But the United States at that time, just the Vietnam War was starting, and I tell you that it was the last thing in my mind to go over there. And so somebody came and he said, okay, Toronto. I said, Toronto is good, close to the United States. And that's how I went to Canada, but never with my intent to immigrate. But I went over there, and I got there in October '65. And then in January '66, a couple of things happened. Number one, I met my future wife, and then I got involved in racing. So I helped a guy. He was a shop foreman at the Volkswagen dealership, and that's how I got involved in racing. And then in '68, I would say that I went back and forth. I did my master degree, but then, like I said, I got involved, and the question became, and I said it in my book, I have to say that, I compared it like a Y. In the beginning, you can jump between left and right, and then the Y becomes wider, and you have to decide where you want to go. So, and I decided to stay in Canada with racing and with my wife. But then in '68, Canada became very, very hard to make a living because the economy went down. And the winter time, I didn't like that at all. And so I was really fighting in going back to Germany or staying or what. I was fighting. And then we went to Daytona in 1969 with a 906. I was helping there. And a guy from California, from Vasek Polak. He said, listen, you going back to Germany, we need people like you. I said, really? He said, yep. So I got home, told Yolande, and we were just liated. We were not engaged, nothing. So I said, I'm going to go to California. She said, what do you mean, California? I said, okay, I go. Within a week, I had a Volkswagen, toolbox, suitcase, $870 on my way. And that's how I got up into Polak.
And when you arrived, and excuse me for asking the story again, but I love hearing about it. When you arrived, you still had to prove yourself.
Yeah, that's a good story. So, yes, I went to Mr. Polak, and be open. At that time, I was also illegal. I came over because I just went to the United States. And then Mr. Polak, I really couldn't work. He said, okay, you can take over racing, because he asked me what I had done before. And I said, yeah, I worked on an RS Spider. He said, we have 3 engines from the RS Spider. Was the Fuhrmann engine, the 4-cam engine. I would say that's still one of the most difficult Porsche engines to rebuild.
Sure.
And one of them, I looked at it, it was full of water. The other one had a hole in the crankcase, and the other one was parts missing. And he said, you build one engine. And that's it. So
Get it to
we
run,
left.
get it to run, and you can stay.
Yeah, I didn't say that. So I said, okay, but I had never done that before. And I was very, very lucky, because Arnold, the parts manager, we kind of, we talked, and he gave me a little repair book for these engines. Porsche had done that very, very detailed. And that's how I rebuilt the engines. And I made from the 3 engines, according to the book, I was a little bit luck and knowledge. I built it, I put it in the car, started it up. Polak was there, it smoked like hell, but it ran. And he told me, clapped me on the shoulder, he said, smoke is okay because we're all parts. So let's do the racing engine. And that's how it started.
That's very impressive.
Yeah, but it was luck. But again, the engine, I had to take it apart again, because in the beginning, and that was the trick on these things, they're all bevel gears, ring and pinions, and I made a mistake. And the issue is that if you can assemble the engine till the last camshaft, and then it doesn't turn anymore. So I had to take the whole engine apart again, do it again. But, like at that time, I was in it.
Wow. And so how long did you spend there before the 3 of you decided to leave the dealership and go on your next adventure?
Yeah, I did the 917, although 71 we started. 71 we got a 917. We did 917, 71, 72, 73. By the end of 73, the SCCA killed the Can-Am, the 917 Can-Am, because of the fuel restrictions. I went back to the street, and then I got close again to Dieter. And somewhere along the line between Arnold, Dieter, and myself, we decided, you know what, why don't we build our own business? And that's how Andial started. And Andial, the name is maybe interesting. It's, we decided, first we wanted to say, okay, Porsche West. Porsche Service West. And then we said,
You'll probably get in trouble.
We might get in trouble.
Yeah.
And then we said, okay, why don't we use Ardial? So the first 2 letters from each name. Because YA? Because it was yellow pages. And I don't know if any of you remember.
Sure.
A is in the first page.
Yes.
So then Ardial, it didn't sound right. And then we just said, okay, why don't we call it Andial? And Andial is a name, it kind of flows off your, it doesn't mean anything, but it flows off your thing. So that's why Arnold had to sacrifice.
I always wondered, because you've told it before, it's the first 2 letters. I'm like, well, no, it's not, because it's first 2 letters for you and for Dieter. Yeah. So you switched it from R to N to make it sound better.
Exactly.
Makes sense. Wow. So when you were at the dealership, you were working just on racing. You weren't modifying or boosting up street cars yet. You didn't start that until you became Andial?
No. By the end, in 1974, the Can-Am, the racing was finished. And by the end, and Vasek asked me, he said, do you want to work? No, you work on old cars. And I said, historic cars.
Yeah.
I said, no, it's not my line.
Yeah.
So I want to work on actual cars, reference cars.
Yeah.
And that's how I went to the street department.
Oh, okay. So you were in the street department
I
there for a
worked
while.
in the street department for almost a year.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm. And when you left, and this is what, it tells a lot about someone's personality and sort of business ethics, as you guys decided to depart or go different paths with the dealership. You did so in a very honorable way.
Yeah. we kind of went in the morning to Mr. Polak, and we said, we're going to quit.
All three of you.
Yeah, but there's a story before, so like I don't know how much time you want to have.
No,
there.
no,
There's
no. That's
I tell you honestly how it started all. I had a Rolodex. You know the
Yes.
like
For those of you that don't know what a Rolodex is, it's like a phone book that you flip through.
exactly,
Yeah.
you had the phone numbers stuff.
Kind of like scrolling for your contacts, but
Yeah.
you're turning by hand.
Exactly. So
I
I
can't
had
believe we're describing this.
yeah, no, we have to.
We have to.
So I had that on my toolbox.
Uh-huh.
And one morning I came in and the Rolodex was gone.
Oh.
So I went to the service manager and said, what happened to my Rolodex? Yeah, Mr. Polak came by and he took it. So I went up to his office and I said, knock, knock, open the door. I said, Mr. Polak, do you have my Rolodex? What do you mean my? This Rolodex is mine. And I went, oh. So then at least, can I copy a couple of numbers? No.
Oh.
And that clicked. Something clicked in my head.
Really?
And that's when I approached Arnold, not immediately,
Right.
but that's when I said, it's time to go in our own business. So I approached Arnold first. And then when he was on board, or when he did, then of course the natural thing was to ask Dieter, because, like Dieter was that nice closing of the circle. So that's how the three of us, and then all of us went up and said, thank you very much, we leave.
Did you ever
That's
find
how
out?
it started.
But he wasn't too happy to hear
No, of course
all
not.
three
No.
employees leaving.
Of course not. He tried very, very hard in Germany, like to that Frau Beer, who was at that time in the racing department selling parts, not to sell us any parts, but
Oh.
he couldn't stop us.
Wow.
But you did move the business, when you started the business, far away from...
We moved about 40 miles
Yeah,
south,
so-
but see, like Newport Beach, if you know California, Southern California a little bit, Newport Beach, Seal Beach, all the beach things, that's where the money is. And that's where we were right in Costa Mesa, was right across. Perfect spot.
And then we're going to fast forward to how did you land at Porsche Motorsports?
Porsche Motorsport, it's, okay. In the 80s, Andial, in the 70s already, let's say when we started Andial, then we had Arnold ran the office and the parts department. Dieter and I did the street cars, and within, I would say, 3-4 months, Dieter brought a customer in for racing, and that's how we started then racing, and I took over the racing side over the years, and Dieter stayed more on the street side, and it was a perfect combination. So that's how it started.
And that's the connections you made through the racing program at Andial is how your connection to Porsche Motorsport?
No.
There's more?
No, there's more. Because then in the 70s, we kind of started already with modification of racing engine and reliability to make a name of ourselves. And then in the 80s, when the 935, we had with Rolf Stommelen and Harold Gross, we had 3 500-mile races in Mosport, Elkhart Lake, and Mid-Ohio. 3 consecutive weekends.
Mm.
And we won them all 3. 2 with Rolf and with Harold, and then with Rolf and with Derek Bell. So we made a name of ourselves, and then the 962 came. And the 962, Al Holbert ran that time Porsche Motorsport, but not as a main job, as a consultant. And the two of us, we hit it off, and then in the 80s, we dominated the 962s. We dominated the IMSA series. With our engines, we did only engines, no cars. That's the customer's thing. And of course, over the years, I built a good relationship with the people in Weissach and here. And then when Al, unfortunately, he had an airplane accident, and he passed away in 1988 in Columbus.
Mm.
And then in 1989, Porsche closed down Porsche Motorsport completely. There was only a paper company in Delaware.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got approached by Helmut Flegel in '89 if I would be interested in running Porsche Motorsport. And I said, Helmut Flegel was at that time the head of the racing in Weissach. I said, are you sure you want me to ask? Because, like at that time, we were like the enemies of Porsche Cars North America, Fred Schwab, because we had a good street business going, and they didn't like that.
Yeah.
I can tell you that. He said,
I can
okay,
imagine.
it's no problem. It's my thing. We'll do it. And by the end of the year, I said, okay. And that's how it became. So then I started in 1990 myself, on the Porsche Motorsport side. And of course, we had the Andial people and we had the engine rebuild builders. It was Andial Racing. So, and over the years till 97, it took me that long to kind of combine the two companies. And on the 1st of January 1997, we took over, Porsche Motorsport took over the Andial people and the program, and we became complete Porsche Motorsport.
So when you took over, let the listeners give some perspective. The 962s are ending, and the IndyCar program that Al Holbert started, that's also ending. But Porsche is starting to focus in on, I guess, customer racing, the GT cars.
When I took over, we had nothing. We had, like I said, it was myself, and there was nothing. We didn't have a car. So, and then Bob Carlson, who was that time the public relation guy at Porsche Cars North America, a very helpful, very bright guy. Then he said, he helped me, and he said, why don't we start with a small series? And the first series what we started was the Supercar with a turbo, 964 turbo Supercar, Handstuck and Hurley Haywood. And that's how we went. We went in 1991, 1992, 1993, and kind of dominated the series, and that's how it started. And then we had our Carrera Cup episode. That's another story, where we had the cars, we had the series, we had 18 cars sold, everything, and then Mr. Schwab came with the idea, and he said, a sister kisses her sister, he has no interest in that, and I canceled the whole thing. But I think there was more to it, because at that time, Porsche Cars North America, I think we sold 3,700 cars in a year. Oh. So I think it had to do something with financial too.
Sure.
All fairness.
Yeah.
So, but it was a big blow for me in the beginning. Mm-hmm. But then the 964 came, 964 Type 911, and Kenny RSR came, and that's how the racing department slowly was built up.
And you were there until 2002?
No, I was there till the 31st of January 2004.
Oh, 2004.
Mm-hmm.
And then you said you were going to retire.
That's it. Yeah, exactly. That I really had that in mind. I had Uwe Brettel as a successor, and I convinced him to come early, and I convinced the board or at least the head of Porsche Racing at that time, to send them over here 3 months earlier, so that when the time came, that the transition would just happen overnight without any stops, because we had Daytona exactly in that time, and that's what happened. So I took over. Then so in December of 2003, Porsche Weissach, in our last, in our Christmas celebration, the end year party, they gave me a really, really very, very big goodbye. It was, they flew my family in from California, they flew my friends from Germany, and to a surprise, I had no idea. So I just walked in there, and all of a sudden I see it was a big deal.
Wow.
And the next day, I went to Mr. Duheimer, and I want to say goodbye. And he looked at me, he said, sit down. Oh, it's clear. He said, you can't leave.
So let's stop right there. They just literally the night before had a huge send-off surprise for you.
Yeah.
And then less than 24 hours, they're saying, you can't leave.
That's what he said. And I really, for a moment, I didn't know anymore.
Yeah.
And then I went, and then he was very clever. He said, you know what? You're confused. Yeah, I said, I'm definitely confused. He said, go home, think about where you can help or where you would be of help for Porsche Motorsport, and come back.
Well, clear.
And I went home and I told my wife, I said, unbelievable. I have no idea what he wants or what, but a little bit confused. And then somehow we talked about it, and I came up with the conclusion, because I always liked BOP, balance of performance, because it was in the beginning, just starting. And I never really had the time to do that, when I ran Porsche Motorsport. And I went the next morning. I said, okay, I have an idea. I want to do VOP, balance of performance. That's exactly what I thought you should do. I said, so my inside, I said, yeah, smart. And then he said, okay, second thing is help Uwe Brettel, my successor. I said, it's a given, because, we picked it. And 3, if I have special projects, if I have special things. So we shook hands. That was it.
So when that would have been 05, right? No, when 04.
04.
So Porsche Motorsports, one of their responsibilities is selling customer cars.
Mm-hmm.
And so that would have been right when the 997 Cup car is coming. Where Cup cars are becoming really popular, mm-hmm. and especially in America. And everyone who wants to race a Porsche has discovered that the Cup car is the way to go, because it's a factory race car. And so I guess Porsche saw you as the main contact for America, especially for the motorsports, and understanding how back then was it IMSA, or was it we were talking about this, the USRRC?
Yeah.
And
we had USRRC, we had Grand Am, we had
the split
IMSA,
was happening,
we had them
with
all.
LMS.
We had World Challenge, but see, we sold cars already in the 90s. Because, it started, like I said, in 1995, 1996, with the 964 RSR. We just started already. So it was not something new, that the sales were going on already.
The quantity seemed to really get higher.
The quantity really came then.
Because by the time you left, they were selling a lot of Cup cars.
Yeah,
you probably couldn't supply all the Cup cars that people wanted.
No, we cannot do it today.
Yeah.
That we still are, we get a limited amount of cars, and they're just for the people who compete in the series, and not for collectors.
Yeah, which I think was very important, because a lot of manufacturers you would see, for example, what I remember was seeing Nissan, which the 300ZX they raced wasn't even a 300ZX. It was, proportions were totally different from the factory street car, where Porsche, these were still street cars that were turned into Cup cars, but they were still a factory-built race car. It wasn't something that a company built and said we were going to race this car under this name. So Nissan didn't sell 300ZXs to customers.
No,
it was just...
No, they were special cars, they were prototypes. Yeah. No, but Porsche already had at that time, but don't forget, Uwe was actually the boss of the Supercar series, Super Cup series.
Okay.
So, he had the knowledge, he had everything, and he, like I said, it was a nice, flawless takeover from my reign to his reign. And I stayed on in advising him, helping him. It was beautiful. We stayed for 5 years. And today it's like 1, 2, 3, 4. So we have the 5th successor is Volker Holzmeier. Mm-hmm. So it went on. The issue is, you can ask yourself, why am I staying so long, in the things? And I tell you what the issue is. The way how Porsche does it, they send the people over here for 5 years. Okay, but it takes a new guy when he comes over here from Germany. it takes a minimum 3 years to kind of understand how the American people tick, how the whole system is, and most importantly, respect from the other side. So, and then 3 years, then he has maybe the 4 years is the learning period, and then he has to go home. And then a new one came again. So, and that is something where I always helped, to things, and people would kind of call me then. And I would say, it's the new guy. But, the transition thing, that's what I always did. And that's, if somebody would have come like Uwe, if Uwe would have stayed like me for 20 years, then I really, maybe after the first year when everything was settled, I would have retired. So, and for that, I stayed on, and I went through 1-2 board members, different board members, and then today, for the last 2 years, I've been with the Porsche Penske 963 program. And I still do for the PMNA, Porsche Motorsport, I still do the historic engines with Eric Blas, oversee that, and especially the dyno work, I still do that. And I have breakfast with Volker Holzmeier. We talk a little bit about the business, but otherwise, Volker is running it by himself, and he's doing a good job.
Wow, you are the busiest retired person I know.
Yeah, I know.
and doing the most exciting work.
Yeah, but you know what? The way I look at it, it is if you keep the brain moving, and if you have a job like what I have, what I like, and what I really, in my opinion, do good. So if the health is good, my wife is okay, and family is good, why don't you do it?
Well, absolutely.
And I'm going to be 82. No, I am 82. I'm going to be 83. And that is something where I'm very, very proud of. There's nobody at Porsche who's that age who is even coming close, of working still officially, from the thing. So very proud of that.
Yeah, definitely.
As you should be. As you should be. All right. Before we get into I don't want to call it our speed round, but this new round that you're going to draw some names and have him describe a little bit here. I want to make sure we thank our new corporate sponsor, Auto Atlanta. If you're chasing down Porsche parts, looking for things that may seem to be impossible to find, I think they might have your back, whether it be parts for your 944 Turbo, your 914, looking for stuff for your 911 SC. Auto Atlanta has you covered. They've been taking care of Porsches and only Porsches since 1978. Not only do they have parts, but they also ship internationally and offer expert advice to boot. So no matter where you are in the world, head over to autoatlanta.com. They have a team of all-star Porsche specialists who handle everything from complex mechanical repairs, full restorations, regular service, and even detailing your car. If you're selling, they're buying. And if you're buying, they're selling pre-owned vehicles, Porsches, for your new home, a new lease on life. Call them, they'll buy it. Whether you're rebuilding a classic or a single clip to finish your project, Auto Atlanta has you covered. Again, head to autoatlanta.com. Be sure to use the special code PCA, the number 5. OFF for 5% discount off of your first order. Again, that's Auto Atlanta. Porsche parts, Porsche people, Porsche passion since 1978. Mr. Alban, you have a list of names, and I think you will announce. And then, Alvin, if you would share some insights, some stuff that maybe those that have been to a lot of your presentations still may not know some of these deep, dark secrets.
Yeah, the deep dark secrets. You have to be careful. The real nice ones, I cannot talk about it. That's the sad part.
We talked about some of these names that some people may not know. I think the diehard Porsche enthusiasts will know, but they're still part of Porsche history, and there's so many different interwebs of personalities of Porsche that really make the brand what it is. So in reading Alwin's book and just starting to jot down names, I thought every one of these names that I jotted down had stories, but we had to narrow it down to like 9 names. So I think if we can get through as many as we can here in the podcast, people find interesting. And I would definitely recommend, once again, going online, finding that book, because it is filled with so much information and stories, all from North America, because that's where Alwin really made his name. So I always say what's really frustrating for us here in North America is when you want to buy these toy cars, they're all European cars.
You're just
from the
saying that
racing
this
and
morning.
European, not from the North American. It's almost like they forgot that Porsche raced in North America. So trying to find an Andial toy is so hard. But fortunately, the 962s, they dominated so much, and almost every 962 that raced in America had an Andial sticker, that at least one. Mm-hmm. So that's not too hard to find.
That's a good story, sticker. So, like it was my idea, because what we did is Dieter and myself, we would go on Friday night, red eye special to the racetrack, Sunday night back again, Monday to work. So that was tough years. But what I said to the teams, I said, look, put the Andial sticker on the front and on the sides. And our support, the only thing what you pay is our flight. You share the flights and you share the hotel. Labor is for free. And that's what our deal was. And I told my guys, I said, look, my Andial, in reality, it doesn't mean anything. But what I want to have, or what we should work for, is that within 10 years, the name Andial in racing is known. Mm. And from 1985, when we did our 10-year anniversary, we had it. And that was my goal on the name. So I could see we're jumping.
That's right. So the first name, Milt Mitner.
Milt Mitner. Milt Mitner was the lead driver when I started at Vasek Polak in 1969. And I'll tell you, I always looked at him, and at that time, hillbilly didn't mean anything to me, but later on, I understood, what Milt was deep down. He was from California, but he was definitely a hillbilly.
Had a beard.
No, but I mean, the way like he acted, he was friendly, we had a good time. And I spent with him 2 years in the Canada. First of all, we did the 906. We did, when we cut off the roof, everything.
But don't gloss over that story.
No, I can't, because we don't have enough time.
But so tell them about how you take this 906. So the 906, its heyday is gone, if you will, and so back then the old race cars almost didn't have a purpose, but you were still trying to make this car competitive. Yeah. So you realized that the car's too heavy in its class, and you're working for Vasek Polak at the time.
Oh yeah. There was 69.
So Milt's one of his customers.
70. So Milt was driving really his butt off, and we were driving against an Alpha T33 with Skeeter McKittrick. I never forget the name. And he was beating us left and right. And, we increased the engine to 2.3 liter, but it still wasn't enough. So it had to be something weight-wise. And what I did is Polak would go, I would say 3-4 times a year to Germany, like 3 weeks, 4 weeks. And one of these times I took a 906, our 906, cut the roof off, but the way like we always could put it back again. And the rear decklet off, the doors off, everything. And built actually very, very flimsy doors, light a light decklet. And I gained about 170, 180 pounds. And from then on, we went racing. No, before we went racing, Mr. Polak came back. And I was very proud of the car. And I always, in the nighttime, I said, how I'm going to tell him what I did. So he came and he looked at his car and he said, what happened to my car? And then I explained it to him. And then, he flipped out. But I showed him then the roof, the way how I had cut it off, so we could always put it back again if it didn't work. The windshield was not broken. Everything was done nice. We could put the rear decklet on, doors on, everything. And Yeah, good, okay. He mumble. And from then on, we won races and won the B Sports Racing Championship in Atlanta, And then, of course, I was the golden boy. But if that would have gone wrong, oh boy, that would have been the end of it. But you know what? There is in life, you have to take calculated risk and chances, otherwise you don't get anywhere.
But back then, when you were racing, it wasn't the glory of it, what it is now with a team, with motorhomes and 300 people coming. It was just you and Milt, right?
Milt and myself. Milt had an old motorhome, and we had, at that time, with the Spider, we had a flat trailer. Flat, that's all, and we would drive from California to the races, to Atlanta.
Open trailer.
Open trailer, end of the story. That's it, the two of us.
Simpler days.
And you said he would always take back roads?
No. That was then the 917 days.
Okay.
With Milt. Because really, again, we had the motorhome, but a better one, a bigger motorhome where the two of us could sleep. And we had a flatbed. I don't know what you call it, Chevrolet.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like where you have the race car on a ramp.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And I was driving the race car and the Chevrolet, and he was driving the motorhome. And that's how we went Can-Am racing. Just the two of us. And Mr. Polak would come on Friday, help us over the weekend, and leave again. And then Milt and I, we were on our own. So what happened? We would find Volkswagen dealerships. We would find paint shops, whatever, where we could work. And I think once or twice a year would overhaul the engine. And a 917 engine, 12-cylinder, that's a lot of bolts and nuts. And Milt would help. He would help. He would have cleaning, like he's not only driver, we're a team. And what we would do, that's another thing, in a nice part, in between races, when we had, let's say, 14 days time, so we wouldn't travel over the interstates. We would drive over country roads. And we would stay, because of the motorhome, we were flexible. We would stay everywhere. And Milt had that talent, again, hillbilly type. Now that I learned what it was, he would talk to the people in a slang. He could do that. And we were always welcome. It didn't matter, big town, small town. And one time I was in Road Atlanta, old Road Atlanta. We were in Gainesville. And we got a garage where we could work from a Volkswagen dealership. And there were 2-3 garages beside us. And Milt got a family across from the complex, and we were friends. And then one night, the guy said, "Come on, guys, I'll show you something." So we went up to a moonshine, plant where they made it
Still?
in the dark, in the wood. I had no idea where we were going. And then all of a sudden, he lit up the fire, and then we could see what it was. I mean, for me, unbelievable. I drank it, and he told me immediately, be very careful. And I'm telling you, now comes the knick from the old thing. So then the next day, we went down and opened up the garage to start to work. I watched the next garage door goes up, and guess what comes out? The fats.
Oh, no.
They were right to us in the next stall. Oh, it was unbelievable.
Wow.
Think about it. Across the street were the moonshine guys. Here were the feds who was looking for the guys. And we were in the middle of it. So I have so many stories with Milt. You cannot think about it.
Wow.
Yeah,
Unbelievable.
He was a
he was
Quite a character.
You
and I
better
think
believe it.
he actually came to a couple of Rennsport reunions.
Yes.
I remember. Yeah,
Yes.
the autograph line.
And later on, he got sick and unfortunately died too young.
Yeah, he was
say that.
definitely a character of the fans. The other one is next person is someone who I call the unsung heroes, where there's some people that everyone knows, like Hans Metzger. Everyone knows the name Metzger engine and so forth, but then there's the turbo, and the turbo charger was something that was obviously very important to Porsche, especially with the Can-Am, because that's what made Porsche competitive, was the way they were able to harness the turbo power. And I first met Valentin Schäffer, I guess Rennsport 4, I think. And had no idea who he was. And someone introduced me. And then when they told me the history, my eyes got really big. Because I have to admit, I was one of the people who never heard of this man. But once you heard what he did, it was total respect.
Yeah, Valentin definitely was, like you said, the unsung hero. And I got to know him in 1971, or the end of 1970, when I went for the 4 months to Weissach, not to Weissach, Zuffenhausen. I always make that mistake. Zuffenhausen at that time was the race department. And Mr. Polak made it possible to go there 4 months to learn the engine totally from the ground up. And that's when I got to know Valentin. And I got to know Valentin in a very, very funny way. It's I was driving with Mr. Polak, and he said, okay, I have to go to a guy here, stay in the car, I'll be out. And it was in the winter time. It was not exactly warm. And I was sitting there for half an hour, and I said, cold. All of a sudden, door comes out. Valentin comes out. I didn't know who he was. He said, how can you sit out here and come inside? So he took me in, and that's how we met. And then Mr. Polak was there. He didn't apologize, but I got warm, and that's how we met. And then from then on, he was a very, very supportive guy of me. I mean, he supported me over all the years. When I had a question, when I needed anything, he became a very good friend. 94 years old now, and we still are in contact every 2 months, 3 months. We talk. But it's
and you learned a lot when you were at that time.
I learned a lot, and the funny part, what I have so many from Valentin, but I give you a good one, is the customer department in Zuffenhausen, and the racing and the development department. There was no Weissach at that time. There just was a door, and the door was not locked. But see what the Porsche guys very cleverly. They had all the customer mechanics in gray uniforms and the development department in red uniform. So if you would go through the door, you immediately, they would pick you up and they would say, hey, out. And of course, I had to do it. And they picked me up and out, and then Valentin, the next day or what, he said, okay, come, I get you in. And of course, with him on my side, and he showed me the whole development department, from dynos, over the engine, over everything. I mean, I never forgot.
Because this is the beginning of the turbo.
It was still normal aspirated.
Yeah.
That was in 71. And then he was already working on a turbo. He didn't show me that. But then in 72, when Mr. Penske team came with Donahue, then Valentin showed up with the turbo. And that is then I really learned what he's doing. So I give you the story. So Mr. Metzger and his team would design the engine. And so not only that, but the 917 is one of his big things. And then Valentin and his team, and there were 4 people, that's all, would take the drawings, get the manufacturer to produce the parts, get the engine department, workshop, to assemble the engine, go on a dyno, get everything done, and go on the racetrack and get the car running. That was Valentin and his little team who did that all. And I tell you, the turbo success from the 917 was majority of Valentin's and his team's tenacity. Is that the right word?
Yep.
Yeah, tenacity, 100%.
Wow.
That's Valentin.
The next name I know Boo's never heard of. I guarantee most of our listeners have never heard of. But it's an interesting gentleman that this comes full circle later in Alwin's life is Randolph Townsend.
Yeah.
Randolph Townsend, a very interesting guy. So in 1975, end of 75, we just opened up Andial, and a guy came, beard, full face, gold chains around his necks, heavy build, very muscular.
Looked like a bodybuilder.
Oh yeah. And he said, I want to have a 917. I said, 917? Yeah. He said, I have $1 million to spend per year in 1976.
Wow.
Think about it.
Wow.
I was like, shit, one of the blah, blah, blah guys.
Yeah.
No, it was 3. And we did. We bought the 917. We went racing. We became actually, I would say, good friends. And what we would do is we would smoke cigars, the 2 of us. And then we have 2 little kids, for driving the truck. We went from the motel to the racetrack, They sit in the back of the car. And we were sitting in the front, smoking cigars. And that I never forget. And then the other things, Randolph, he was not a good race car driver, and he knew it too. But he crashed a couple of once, 917 he crashed, he bought a new one, or went to Germany, bought a new one from Willighausen. And he later on became a politician. In Nevada, he became a senator, and a senator. And, and we stayed in touch, and I never forget that. He called me and he said, after a couple of months, and he said, Alvin, yeah, I have to tell you that. I said, what happened? I was Democrat. I have to put that in here. No, honestly, but I watched it. So, he said, guess what? The head guy of the Senate told me, he said, Randolph, come here, I tell you what it is all about. He said, one thing what you have to learn is the masses are asses. And I said, you can't be kidding me. What are you talking about? He said, yeah, that's what shook me also. It is not like we were supposed to be for the people. No, the people were there, and we would tell the people what to do. And he said, I was totally blown away. Then he changed the party and stayed on there for 24 years, 23 years. So we never lost contact. We went to Vegas and, or he came to Germany once with us. So, we became close.
But you're becoming citizen, trying to become
American.
American.
But now comes the closing part.
Yeah.
So, and then my wife and my kids, of course, were American. Although my wife was born in Morocco, but she became American immediately. And I somehow didn't want to lose my German citizenship. And the German said something where if you would become American or become a different citizen, you lose the thing.
Right.
And I didn't want to do that. And then somehow the Germans changed the law. And when I got a hold of it, immediately I applied. So and then I went through the motion, everything else. And then the next thing was that I went for the swearing in. Everything was good. Yes, you're American, congratulations. I said, okay, I need a passport because I have to go to Germany. It was in August. So in November, I want to go to Germany. My passport didn't show up.
Oh.
No. Then, we're missing one document. I said, okay. So I gave it to you, and unfortunately, I gave you the originals. Yeah, we need a copy. So where are we going to get a copy from?
Oh, no.
Have you ever dealt with immigration? It's fun, I tell you that.
It's fun.
So the guy says, and then finally after, or maybe it was earlier, the guy came back and he said, yeah, we found where the location of the paper is. It's an asbesto-contaminated room. Yes, then where do I come in? Yeah, you need a copy. So I was in a limbo, honestly. He said, you need a copy, and I said, where am I going to get a copy from? So, and then I called Randolph, and I said, Randolph, you have to help me. What can you do? And I tell you, he had Harry Reid at that time, who was the big Democratic head guy in Reno.
Speaker of Health, I think.
Yeah. So he talked to him, and within 1 week, a guy from him called. I gave him my information, and within 10 days, I had my passport.
Wow. Wow.
So that's Harry Reid and Randolph Townsend. And today we still good together.
There's that
good
6 degrees outside of motorsports too, as well.
The other one is a little bit heartbreaking too, but he was such an important part of Porsche Motorsports. Was Al Holbert.
Yeah, that's That's a sad story, because Al and I, again, when we built our 935L, one car, we had our first race in Riverside. So I asked Al if he would drive the car with Harold Gross, my friend from Germany, and he did. And that kind of bonded us. And then from then on, when the 962 came, we were together. And that the whole thing evolved into a friendship, really good friendship, and business relation thing where he would tell me, okay, Alvin, that's the engine problem. You take care of it. You do what you have to do. And don't ask me. Stay within reason. And that's it. And we had a perfect thing. And that's where the foundation was laid again for later on Porsche Motorsport. When he went. So I was running his engine program totally by myself. Also, with Andial people. Not careful.
Yes.
It's never by yourself. It's us. It's we. So and that was Al. And Al, he always told me, Alvin, take over Porsche Motorsport and come to Pennsylvania. And I said, no, I've been in Canada. I know what the winter time is. Not me. That I wouldn't go. And then one morning or one evening, I was in Columbus, Ohio. I was in a hotel, and a guy from Creepy Crawley called me, and he said, listen, sad news, because I just saw the news, and a plane went down, and the tail is definitely the Löwenbräu. That was...
Because Al was his own pilot, wasn't he?
Yeah,
Included his own plane.
Yeah, but the story was there, and that's faith. That's all what it is. What we would do is, when all the back east races, Al and I, or Al would go on Friday after the last practice. We would fly to his home in Warrington, spend the time with the family at dinner, and on Saturday morning we would leave early again to the racetrack.
Wow.
So normally I would have flown with him, but he had a meeting about the new Spider, like that. It was the successor of the 962. And he was building it. And we wanted to use the Indy engine, but convert it into a gasoline engine. So it was all moving, and he was talking to people. And that's why I didn't join them. And otherwise I would have gone with him. So that's
we remember
very, very sad.
Al Holbert, Derek Bell, the Lowenbrow number 14 was legendary. And IMSA Racing, they were so dominant.
The team was just a family. We were a big family and successful family.
Yeah, it's definitely what would have been the other tragic, I guess. Also, we just picked these to happen to be next to each other. Is Bob Wollek.
Sure. Bob Wollek. Bob Wollek is another good friend. And we didn't start out as friends. He was a successful race car driver when he came over here. But at the same token, he was, I was calling him grouchy. No, because he always, like, whoop, 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 never really smiled or joked or whatever. And the story what I remember, among a lot of other ones, but that's a good one, is I would tell him, good morning, Bob. And he would just walk by. No answer. And that went on, I would say, for years, or at least for a couple of months. And then one day he walked by me and he said, good morning, Alvin. And I said, you know what? I played a game. So I just didn't, acted exactly like him. I kept on going. And he came, wrapped my shoulder around and he said, I told you good morning. Yeah, I said, I know. And you've been doing that for the last 3 months or 6 months or whatever, and you never, just giving you the shit back what you give me all the time. And I'm telling you, that broke the camel's neck. We became so close friends.
Really?
And I remember it. You know, I don't know how these nuts are called. They're about that long, that wide, and they have a very hard shell, very very hard shell. And once, what I say, that was Wollek, hard shell. But once you came through the middle, it was like butter.
Yeah.
It was like butter. And we became very close friends. And I was there the last day when he got killed. He came in and he gave me a sign, like I have it still at home when you visit my home, and it said something about bullshit artists or what, I said, yeah, and he left. We said goodbye, and that was it.
Oh.
Yeah, but he was my favorite story, a little more not so sad, was
It's a sad story.
He was driving your car with Preston Henn, and AJ Foyt wasn't the original driver.
No,
right? He was driving. He was driving an Aston Martin that breaks down. I think the Nimrod that breaks down, and I think Preston Henn ran into AJ and found out AJ didn't have a car anymore for the 24 Hours of Daytona. This is the race is going on at this point, and Preston asked AJ if he wants to drive his car, which is the same car as Bob, but he doesn't tell Bob, right?
No, he didn't know. Bob had no idea because Bob brought the car into the lead. So we were leading the race. And then Preston made a deal with AJ Foyt. And AJ Foyt never sat in the car. They had no idea about shifting, about the switches or what. So I had to sit down with him and give him a little sketch, what is what, here, where.
This is while the car's racing.
Oh, yeah.
There's showing.
Wollek is in first place. And he came in, and Wollek gets out, and Foyt gets in, and Wollek, the famous guy, he said something on TV, who in the... is that guy, or is AJ, or somebody said that's AJ Foyt, and they said, Foyt. But that was Wollek. But then, during the remainder of the race, AJ drove a brilliant race in a car he never sat in, no idea, in the rain also.
Wow.
So it was definitely, and after the race, Wollek definitely paid him tribute.
Yeah, they became great friends.
They became great friends. Yeah, that was Bob.
Yeah.
I have so many stories from him, but we don't have enough time.
Yeah, so that's a good preview of like I said, we could make this a 6 to 8 hour episode of all the names I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and I can go on and on. It's not like the little things what I have told you, but we can pick one guy and just talk about it, because I spent so many times, and so good times and successful times and mutual good times. That's the important part.
I want to say the list that you originally put together, Manny, had at least like 20 names.
Oh, more than that.
More than that, right? And for those of you that are joining us on Treffin at Sea, you're going to get more of this. And every time we are together with you, I learn so much. And it's great that you're willing to share.
Yeah, no, definitely. I like it also because with you guys, I'm not a big guy in podcasts or what. I don't give a lot of them. You don't see me a lot. But with you guys, I feel like home. It's like family, and I enjoy it. And I look forward to the cruise, where you said like 800 PCA people are coming there. I look forward. And what I'm asking the people who are listening right now and joining the cruise, when we have our, it's not a podcast, our meeting there.
Our seminar.
Feel free when it's over to ask some question. And don't be bashful. Okay? Let's go for it.
I forewarn Alwin that this is the first Tech Tactics I ever went to that there was alcohol involved. So
it's...
Hopefully no one gets too rowdy.
We've described Treffin at Sea before. We've said it a million times. Those that have been on Treffin at Sea totally understand what we're talking about. But it's hard to capture the essence of what you will feel on that ship until you've been there. So I'm looking forward to you getting to know Treffin at Sea and all of the members having access to you. We're going to have a great time. But before we move over to, I think we have one bit of Porsche news to go over. I'm looking at your shirt, and I want to remind folks that it is indeed the 50th anniversary of Andial.
Yeah.
And you brought that Andial livery GT3 to Works Reunion and unveiled it with us. So I want to thank you and thank Porsche. And we want to thank our friend Boris.
That I just want to say,
Yeah.
I didn't bring it. I mean, Boris Appenbrink, who is heavily involved in the Sonderwunsch management, it was his idea. He executed it with Thomas Klein, and I want to say that in the design, and they came with the 992 in the Andial original 935L colors, and it looked beautiful. I can tell you. The people who have seen it, I always got good results. So I want to thanks to Porsche AG to do that. It means a lot to me personally, and of course to Boris Appenbrink and to Thomas Klein.
All because Boris visited your house, right?
That is correct.
And he saw a picture of the car?
Yeah, that's enough. So you have time?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, then I tell you that. So Boris and his wife and his little kid came, and Carsten von Engeln, he's the boss of Porsche Design in the United States.
Shout out to Karsten.
Yep.
Exactly. And Volker Holzmeier from Porsche Motorsport. We had the kids, we had a pool party at my house.
Nice.
And so then we went upstairs in my office. You have been there, you have seen it. And we were looking at it and we saw the car. And then we said, we have shoes made, we had T-shirts made, Carsten said that. And Boris said, that ain't enough. We have to bring that somehow on a current car, the design. And he didn't say anything. And that was in August, July. And then in November 2024, I was in Weissach. I was sitting, and then Boris came over from Zuffenhausen, and we're sitting there with Henry Freude. I don't know if you know him. He does all the special cars. And we were talking. And then he said, hey, I'm working already on it, and I have a design almost ready. And I said, what design? He said, on the race car. So
What race car?
yeah, what race car? And then in April, he sent me the first sketches. And then they got the car, did it in Germany, or put the wrap on, and then sent the car to Porsche. No, the car was sent to Porsche Motorsport, and the wrap was done in California, and then brought it up to Monterey.
Wow.
And then, you guys were there. And so was Timo Resch, the CEO of PCNA, and Ayesha Coca.
Right.
That's the marketing VP. Was very, very rewarding and gratifying for myself. I can tell you that.
Oh, well, congratulations to you. Again, the German who went to Canada to work on a car, then got in a Volkswagen to go to Southern California to be here celebrating a brand that you and two other partners started and getting the respect of Porsche and now celebrating with all of us.
And now you're going back to Canada on a boat.
Absolutely. Maybe not on land. No. Very nice, guys.
Very good.
Thanks for the good time.
Yes, and we're looking forward to more details. Let's just hop over to reminding folks to make sure they sign up for PCA's newsletters, performance news, e-brake news, and Mark Fresh, all free at pca.org. And this one here is going to be a little bit counter to what you're working with typically, and this is talking about gear shifts, but not, they say fake.
Yeah, so
There's no other way to say it.
a year ago, when I read about this, a rumor of it, they interviewed Lars Kern, who's a test driver, and he said it'll never happen, that Porsche will never make the EVs sound like they're shifting gears. And but now, in an article on Road and Track, Sasha Nielsen, who is the Porsche prototype fleet manager, said that it's very possible that they will be having a car that feels like it's a gear shifting. Me personally, I don't want to say it's not a good idea, because that's what I said about texting. But I don't understand why we need to go down in technology. Seems to me that have a car simulate a gear change when it's not necessary. But then again, a year ago, I didn't like this idea of having fake sound on a car. But then I rented a Ford Expedition, and I thought it was a V8. It sounded great. I thought, boy, Ford has really done a great job with this V8. Beautiful sound. Drove it for like 16 hours.
Sucker.
And when I was taking it back to the rental place, I happened to see a boost gauge, and I thought, oh my God, this is a V8 turbocharged. It turns out it was a V6, and the sound is fake.
Simulated.
Not even simulated. I mean, it's simulated of a V8, not
Yeah.
a V6 turbo. So I wasn't listening to their engine. I was listening to electronic sound. But I thought, you know what? It fooled me for 16 hours. It made me kind of happy thinking I was driving this really nice sounding engine. So who knows what Porsche is going to do.
I have to say that we have an article by Bradley Iger that you can see on the screen now. Check it out on PCA.org. But
Yep.
Hyundai did this with their
Ioniq 5.
Ioniq 5N, and it seemed like a really cool concept. Bradley wrote a really good op-ed about it. Go check it out, and let us know if you think Porsche should simulate gear changes in your EVs.
I'll throw it back to you, Damon. So my wife and I, we have a Honda Civic naturally aspirated manual vehicle, and you rented the Civic the other day for Monterey, and that's a CVT transmission.
Yeah.
But it does have simulated.
Did it really?
Yes.
Yeah, it did. And it sounded, or it felt fine to me. I didn't realize I was driving a CVT,
Exactly.
to be quite honest.
Exactly. That's what I think they're trying to do is people have this expectation of how an engine should sound when you're accelerating, decelerating, and such. And they want the CVT for the economy, but they're putting into the software to make it behave similar to
for me, it's why not offer the choice? And I think what people are seeing is, for example, on track, if you're used to having breakpoints with downshift, your fifth gear going into whatever turn one at Laguna Seca, and or turn two, I guess, and you're hitting the brakes, and you have a reference point with your gears. So there's one cool thing about it. I don't know. I just think, why not have the choice?
Will it make you slower if you're going?
It will. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, for
Here's
sure.
my suggestion. If I'm on the track, the guy next to me can be using the fake gears. Let me just have the regular power. I don't need fake gears.
I get you. But sometimes it's that simulation, and sometimes slower is more rewarding. I mean,
There we go.
I'm just saying from a sense. He's gonna disown me now. I'm just saying from a sensory.
I think I would say that's what the losers do.
I tell you, I stay out of that conversation.
Yes, I know you will. I knew when I read this topic, he's gonna stay out of this one. Because we were talking about it earlier, and he's like, we're not gonna be talking about that on the podcast, are we? So I'm gonna leave you out of this.
Yeah, that's a
Don't
good
disown me because I said that. I'm going to move on to events, and that is Unstock 2025, November 16th, Porsche Santa Clarita. Registration will be opening September 3rd, so we'd love to see you there. Of course, if you're looking to race with PCA members online, check out PCASimRacing.com. If you're looking for insider swag, bottles, mugs, t-shirts, PCAWebstore.org. And of course, we'd love you to show your support and how proud you are of the PCA Insider podcast. Just send us your address information to podcast@pca.org, and we'll send you a set of decals. Man, I know we could go for hours and hours, and we will go for hours and hours on the cruise, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Sorry. Hey, you guys could have joined on the cruise too, and you could have been part of this.
May I say something? We got alcohol.
And we're gonna get the unfiltered, the raw. I mean, we promised we wouldn't record it, and he promised he would tell it all. So.
Yeah. No, I give you a good one. So when I did my book, and I really had, my vision was to tell the people what really happened there. And the writer told me already, we can't do that. Liability here, liability there, the lawyers. And so unfortunately, the real spicy stories, you cannot tell these days anymore. We live in a crazy world.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
And I found out the hard way. So I have to restrain myself, but only to a certain degree.
Oh, exactly. We'll unlock it with some liquid courage there when we're on the boat.
Exactly. Let's go for it.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and consider sharing our show with fellow Porsche enthusiasts. Until next time, stay safe and we'll catch you down the road. Thank you, Alvin.
Yeah, goodbye, and thank you very much for listening.